Hey everybody, welcome to Obscurities in Miniatures, and today we've got some goodies from Yedharo models all the way in Spain. We've got some of their Zodiac war figures. Now, I did not order the entire Zodiac. I'm not made of money after all. But I did go ahead and I'll let you guys take a guess. What do you think I'm going to end up with? If you guess the lions and the bulls, then you're probably right. I don't actually remember. I'm pretty sure. Why don't we find out? So they've got a snazzy little cover here. Instructions, it's not for kids. We already knew that. See, I haven't even opened it yet. Let me pop that tape off. Alright, let's see. What's in here? 1, 2, 3 miniatures. Ah, ha, ha, ha. And bases. Somebody's got a 50mm base. The other two are on 40s. And packing peanuts. Spanish packing peanuts. How exotic. Southern California, yeah? Alright, so what do we got? Good question. Let's find out, because I didn't bother to double check the pledge manager. Alright, a lion. If you guessed lion, you are correct. I'm curious if this is in that Siocast. I know I saw they had samples, Yedharo, being what I'm talking about, had samples printed up in the material. It does have that flex, like the last sword figures. Could be. I don't want to try it and snap everything into pieces. I know some people were concerned about the quality of that material, if that's what these are cast in, if they're not just regular traditional resin. You can see here detail holds up pretty nicely. A little bit of cleanup there, unless you want to keep it on a slotted base, which is entirely possible. Not too many parts. Oh, and we forgot his tail. Silly me. Alright, this bag looks like it will be the one to open next because there's not so many parts. Oh, and if you guessed a lion again, that's what you got. This was the Kickstarter exclusive version of Leo. Do I want to paint him up like Lion Maru? Sorta, kinda. So while we have the Savage version here, looking like you can hang out with those Yedharo Savage orcs. This one is much more stately and regal. He's got actual armor on. Where is the top of his chest? Good question. He's got a long, dramatically flowing cape upon which he will attach his mane, and he's got a nice fancy anime-esque sword in his hand rather than a funky bone club and a loincloth. Okay. Our third lucky contestant, and the most parts so far. I'm not sure what you are. You must be a bull. You are Taurus. Was Taurus. Okay. Alright, was. He is definitely coming to us in a lot more parts. Not that he is... Okay, I was like, is that supposed to look like that? Yes. Okay. Where is your other leg? So he's got two big honking hammers here. Tail. Swap the flies with. Head. Detail looks good. Hopefully everything goes together nicely. Shoulder. Knees. And toes. Oh no, I had it the other way around. Shoot. Oh man, I better redo that. Time for a retake. No. So there's the other leg. The horns, appropriately adorned with fancy ribbons. And then he's got a little custom base topper that he will attach to when all is said and done. I have a funny feeling, yeah, he's going to be on the 50mm base, whereas the lions look like they are going to be on the 40s. In case you're curious just how tall these guys are, just giving you a quick look-see. These are the smaller standard scale ones. He measures about 1.5 witch hunters tall. They did have larger 75mm options for, I think, just about everything that was available during the campaign, and obviously If I'm receiving this, that's a good sign that they should be available in the near future, if they're not already by the time you're watching this, on Yedharo's web store. So if you're into the larger scale stuff, like 75mm versions of these kinds of models, do take a look there. I, however, am not. I would much prefer to have something in a gaming scale. Not that we've gotten to game for forever, basically, but there's always that hope, right? Always that hope. Give me a sec here. I will put them together, and we will keep on hoping, and we'll see how these guys turn out, and hopefully some of that hopium is going to rub off, and we'll actually get to use them if I can ever get them painted. Sit tight. All right, so we've got our Zodiac guys put together here, and why don't we take a look at them? So, first up, we have our Leo. And I gotta say, I really dig this pose. But you know what I didn't dig was the fact that the material was kind of hard to clean up. And you can see it really badly scarred up here on his tail especially. I'm going to have to work on that some more. Wasn't super pleased with that. The level of the detail is actually quite nice. For whatever reason, I feel like his face is kind of flat. And I'm not sure why that is. Is it my imagination? I don't know. The pose overall really works well. I don't know if that's where his tail's supposed to go, but that's where I stuck it. There were a lot of gaps. That was the big issue for me. Very obvious gaps, and it just didn't want to fit together. Not so much on this guy, a little bit there with the hair. You can see there's a nice big space. Whether or not I'm going to bother filling those gaps in, that is anybody's guess at the moment. I'm 100% not sure. Now, this is probably my favorite of the sculpts that we got. This is the Kickstarter exclusive, unfortunately. So if you like it, I don't know what to tell you because you're probably out of luck. I don't know. Hopefully, it looks like Yedharo is at least offering up some of these via other Kickstarters. They just had a Lucifer one with both cast resin and STL files. So I'm hoping they'll see something similar. But you can see here he's got this huge gap between his chest and the piece for the cloak where his arm attaches. And I mean, it's not like I didn't trim this stuff, guys. You know I'm quite particular about that. I may be sloppy with mold lines, but I really do try to ensure a nice, thorough, good fit. You can see here the gap between his leg and the rest of the body. It's a shame. And there were these huge contact points where the casting gate was attached to the cape. There were some similar issues on the Taurus as well. We'll take a look at him in a sec. Which is a shame because, I mean, I really dig this sculpt. It's very heroic looking. You know, he's the noble lion rather than the savage one. It's not a look we often see. And just 3D physical models of lion people are pretty rare, I gotta say. I try to keep my eyes peeled for them, and I try to pick some up whenever I come across them, which is funny because everybody's like, oh, you must have liked Thundercats when you were a kid. Actually, I despised Thundercats. I was never into it. I hated Lion-O. I hated Snarf. I did have a thing for Cheetara, but that's a whole different story. I was down with Silverhawks. Now, if you want to talk 80s anime-esque properties, I liked Silverhawks. Except for Tallyho, but that's a whole other story. Anyway, Tallyhawk? No, was Tallyho whatever the little whistly kid was? Or am I misconstruing that with a G-Force's Gachamon dub? Anyway, I don't know. Here is Taurus, as I get completely sidetracked. And again, big gaps I'm not too pleased with. And much like with the Leo, we had these huge contact points that I'm still going to have to file down. So it was a little rough around the edges, unfortunately. And I don't feel like I had that big of issue with Yedharo's stuff in the past. I don't know, maybe I just got lucky in the past. Maybe this was just not the best casting job. I don't know. I think most of it is pretty forgivable. I think if you're an experienced hobbyist, it really shouldn't be too much of an issue. I mean, yeah, it's just kind of annoying. Like, look at that gap right there. And like I said, I trimmed this stuff. I dry fit this stuff. I tried to file everything down, and it still didn't want to cooperate. The tips of the mace handles as well. Maces, they're hammers. What am I talking about? So, I mean, that's really my only disappointment. I think overall, the poses, the designs, I really like them. In case you don't know, I don't even remember what size bases they had now that I'm looking at them. The lions are on 40s. The Taurus is on 50. And why don't we grab some other models so you guys get a good idea of just how big these guys are. You're not a witch hunter. I'll allow it nonetheless. So here you can see with some regular sized humans, they're going to be pretty big. So that's just something to consider. Taurus even more so. I think if you were going to do some kind of like Kings of War animal army, they might be kind of cool heroes to have in it. Me, I'll probably find a use for them in Dragon Rampant, because why not just have lots of, you know, random weird monsters hanging around. Now, whenever I have a Minotaur, you know, my gold standard is going to be comparing them to the Zealot stuff. Those bestiarum sculpts. Size-wise, they match up. Obviously, the style is totally different. This guy is way more regal, way more normal. Noble, not normal. Well, I guess normal, too. This guy's wearing, like, scrap and junk. But, you know what it reminds me of is, like, the Paladins of Kryn. If you want to get really, really old, start talking Dragonlance. I always remember that. They had the Clerics and Paladin Minotaurs. I was going to say the other, like I said, Lionmen tend to be few and far between. I have Kojo here from Signum Games, who is a bit bigger, a little bit more hunched over, but he's also on a 50mm base. He's a nice model. I'm debating if I want to have them all match up. We also have a couple of Yedharo orcs here. You can see there is definitely some size differences amongst them. But I don't think these lions are going to be too happy about the fact that so many of those savage orcs were wearing their skins or their relatives or distant cousins' pelts, like our female orc here, all over. You know what? Now come to think of it, I did have a hard time trying to get her lion mane attached to the body. It turned out okay in the end. I mean, there's still gaps there, but anyway. So, nice models, different design, unique theme. I mean, I know we've seen Zodiac style stuff, but not enough Zodiac knights. Like Los Caballeros del Zodiaco. Because gotta rep Saint Seiya, right? Honestly, the only ones I can think of are in a studio made some female-looking saints. Now, I'm really going off on an anime tangent here. Okay, I think that means it's time for me to stop. I'm going to put a link down below to Yedharo's website. Take a look there. At the very least, you'll be able to hit up some of these Zodiac sculpts. They should have just about everything on there, hopefully by the time this video gets posted. And if not, do check back. And at the very least, if there are any Kickstarter campaigns and you want to get a guy like this in the future, they will hopefully have a link there. With that said, this has been High Lord Tamberlane with Obscurities and Miniatures, saying thanks for watching, and we'll see you back here soon. Bye-bye.